Under cover of darkness, Sabine sneaks away into the night, back into the halls underneath the city of Dunhane, where only hours before the party put the leader of the Darrow to the sword. She sneaks back in and she finds the final chamber. There, the arcane nexus that the Darrow were using to empower their fell rituals is yet unclaimed by anyone else in the dungeon. Learning fell rituals from her warlock patron, she claims it for herself, stealing it from the rightful owners, the dwarves of Dunhane. I'm James, and today we're going to be talking about evil player characters in your campaign. Right off the bat, you do not have to allow evil player characters in your campaign. Especially for new dungeon masters, it is perfectly reasonable to say no. You can tell them, look, I am a new dungeon master, and I am excited to do this for you. However, I have to learn how to run combat, how to run spells, how to make encounters hard but not too hard, how to run NPCs, how to make them interesting for you, whether I like traps and puzzles, how to give you treasure that's powerful and interesting but not too powerful or interesting. And oh yeah, I have to make all that engaging as well. So I'm not necessarily opposed to evil maybe in the future, but for right now, if you give me just a little bit of room to figure out my side of the DM screen, and we'll play only good or neutral characters. If you are going to do that, I would think about disallowing chaotic neutral as well. According to the player's handbook, the chaotic neutral character cares primarily about freedom, and I would agree with that. But really what most, especially new players, do is use chaotic neutral as an excuse to play a chaotic evil character. Look, I'm just exercising my personal freedom by butchering everybody in this tavern. That is an evil act, not a neutral act. They are doing it because cruelty, because somebody insulted them, because there was a fist fight. It is a disproportionate response. That is evil. That's what they're doing. Barring any other weird things like all the people in the inn are doppelgangers. So despite all of that, you decided to say yes. You are going to allow evil into your campaign. That's great. I've had lots of evil player characters in my games, and they're some of my favorite characters to DM for, some of my favorite characters for my players to play and play with, because it adds a new dynamic to anything that they do. But the people that tell you that it's gone wrong, they're not wrong. It can go very badly. So let's talk about what evil does to your campaign. So we need a definition for evil that fits chaotic evil, neutral evil, lawful evil, so we can talk about what we mean when we have an evil player character, and we can kind of show them the guidelines.
The code is more what you'd call guidelines than actual rules.
Obviously, lots of people have definitions of evil, and humans have tried to define it for all time, and now apparently I'm going to try to do it on the internet in a couple of words. I'm sure this won't go wrong. For my own campaign, the definition that I use is that an evil person is made of evil acts. Evil acts are any time that you are putting your ambition, your own self-interest, your own desires over the well-being of another person. You are putting them in harm's way, whether that's actual harm or just, going to the poorhouse or stealing from them, whatever you're doing, they're going to end up poorer for whatever it is that you're doing to them. Collect enough evil acts and you are an evil character. You might not like that definition, which is totally cool. This is just what works for me. If you have a different one, put it down in the comments. Someone else, including myself, may prefer your definition. It may be more useful to their campaign. Think about a blacksmith that has an apprentice, and they are passing the apprentice's work off as their own, like the guy at the beginning of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Interested in the capture of a dangerous fugitive?
Just doing my civic duty, sir.
That's an evil act. Is this guy evil? I don't know. What's he do on the weekend? Does he just have a big drinking problem? Is that enough to make somebody evil? Not to me. It's certainly just not, something on the good side of the scale. And it isn't as evil as, say, Demogorgon or a mass murdering psychopath or someone who is embezzling all the retirement funds of everyone that's doing something. This isn't that level of evil. It's a scale, like you are evil and you balance that out and try to figure out where you are. But are evil characters that are evil on the alignment chart are always going to act in their own self-interest. Whenever something comes up, they're going to go self-interest first, me, 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 me. What do I want? What do I get out of this? That's the hallmark of evil. The player playing an evil character needs to figure out what it is about the other members of the party that are different. Why are you attached to them? Most evil people that you might point to in the world and say, that person is kind of evil. They have someone or something that they care about, some line that they're not willing to cross. They will do all this evil, but this is the thing I'm not willing to do. I'm not willing to lie. I'm not willing to murder. I'm not willing to, I would do anything but that. It is not up to the other players to figure out, why do we always keep this person around even though they're evil? They're playing good and they're going to get along, but if they figure out that you're evil and you're just torching every tavern that you go into, eventually they're going to either just abandon you and say, hey, this isn't working out, goodbye, or they're going to turn on you and kill you if they are playing their characters like a role-playing game. I'll work with them if they're going, look, I really want to make this work. I think I've got a really good concept for this character, but I just can't figure it out. I'll work with them and say, okay, what if they're family members? What if you were raised with them? What if you have, if you're working with this other character, you have a love interest with them? What if there is just, it's convenient to you because you're going to go slay dragons and demons, and these people are people that maybe you betray, but you trust them with your life, going, look, they'll cover my back. I know they will. And because I'm going to kill more dragons and more demons, I need to make sure that these people continue to trust me. So I'm very Machiavellian in my mindset of going, yes, I'm using you, but it's replicating loyalty in a Machiavellian mindset. That's not to say that the party has no responsibility in this. Their main role in this is to not try to constantly catch the evil player in the act and say, haha, knew you were evil, we caught you. You're playing with a character who is ostensibly your character's friend, and the evil player is doing some work to try to make that work within the narrative. So from your side, you don't know they're evil. Your characters, unless some divine being comes down and says, oh, by the way, that person that you're with, that is totally an evil character. You don't know that. Even spells such as detect good and evil won't detect an evil player character. They detect large evil, demons, devils, undead. Even if you do that and you allow spells, there are some systems that would. The evil character is usually detected by intent. Do they intend to do you harm? And the evil character usually doesn't think of it that way. It is very possible, if you have an evil player character at your game, that there will be at some point some interplayer conflict over something, whether that's killing an NPC that's being held hostage, or the use of a magic item, or stealing something that someone doesn't know about. It may come up. This is where I would allow metagaming and go in, participating in myself and go, hang on, we're going to pause for a second and we're going to talk this out. Yes, that Harp of Storms would be really great for you. However, that's kind of tied to this storyline over here. And if you take it, which is justifiable for your character, then this other person, if they play their character, is going to have to react in character to that, which is going to end up with some player versus player conflict. You, as the evil player character, need to find a reason why you would not betray this character. Getting back to, if you're going to play evil, it's on you to make it work with the party, not the party to work with you. The other one is player versus player conflict. For me as a dungeon master, that's right out. Maybe you're different. I know some players and some tables that are perfectly fine with player versus player conflict. I was when I was a teenager, and so were all my friends. But that's not what I've seen since like college. They're not really into that kind of confrontational play environment. We're here to have friends, and at least that side of the table is to be cooperative play, and my side of the table is to set the antagonists and be a referee. If it comes down to that, and there is a situation where the character is going to be evil enough that the players are going to turn against him, I need you to hand over your character sheet. That is now a villain under my control, and I will turn it into a proper villain, and I will give it some legendary actions and legendary resistances, and it'll have a really cool story. Maybe it turns into a vampire or a lich or whatever it is, but we need to have a conversation between Dungeon Master and evil player about that really needs to come over and be my character, because I don't like setups where the players are at odds with one another in combat. If somebody loses, a character is dead, and no one's going to feel really good about that when the other player dies. It's already hard enough to get many players to accept it when a dungeon master kills their character. I didn't kill your character. The dragon roasted your character, not me. That's what the dragon would do. But, previous videos, players don't always see it that way. And I don't really want them doing that between player and player. So what do you get for having evil characters in your game? Sounds like a lot of work. You have to balance all the player versus player stuff. You have to work extra hard with this character. Ambition. Good characters can have ambition. It is certainly possible that a good character creates a wizard's tower or a keep, rules a kingdom, forms an organization. Evil characters have it baked in. It is often said that good is a reactionary force. Evil is an active force. Evil goes and does things. Think about all your characters from media, books, movies, plays, all that kind of stuff. Often the good character doesn't go do things just because it would be good. Frodo from Lord of the Rings and Taran from the Prydain Chronicles don't just get up and go on their adventure because. They go because something went wrong and they need to go fix it. They are called to action because of the evil that happened. Evil characters will make a mark on your world. If they get high enough, they might die. They can become the player that, 3 campaigns from now, you're telling stories of to the new players in your game to say, well, see that arch villain over there? That was the mage from 3 campaigns ago playing. And it can, you'll see sparkles in players' eyes. Not literally, maybe. I don't know. Of things that they can do that I could be like that. I can have a permanent mark on your world. Yeah, totally. If you have problems getting them to engage, getting them to actually get into the content and lore of your world, letting an evil character can be a good gateway into that. All of a sudden, they want to get something done. Cool. Sure, you can be an ancient lich. You got to go find a unicorn. Well, where can I find a unicorn? I don't know. Go look at all the stuff I wrote up for the world and figure out where you're going to go do that and how you're going to convince the party to go to wherever the unicorn is and how you're going to get away from them to kill the unicorn so that they don't see you doing it. That's up to you as the evil character. It's not up to me as the dungeon master. I'll just tell you if your plan is plausible, and I am going to let them roll their perception checks to see if you get away. So you're going to have to get some stealth. Good luck with that. I think my next video is going to be about doing voices. Obviously, I like doing them. I'm not a voice actor. I'm not very good at it. But it does help with my players in some mechanical senses that are kind of odd. I want to talk about that. I was thinking about doing the maze video, but then I was going, well, there's a Minotaur in Dungeons and Dragons and in Pathfinder and all the RPG games. And I feel like I'd be doing the Minotaur, Asterion, a disservice. That's his name. His name's Asterion. If I didn't put the Minotaur with the maze and talk about it there. Minotaur maze, that's where it comes from. So we'll talk about it in that video whenever I do it. I don't know if it's going to be my next video. Kind of whatever I'm doing with my players kind of inspires the dungeon that I'm making, because then I get to do it with them and then I get to show it to you. If you made it this far in the video, like, subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Till next time, Dungeon Masters, remember, you're a player too. Try to have some fun.